Welcome to Crime Most French, a fortnightly podcast covering intriguing cases carried out on French soil. Researched and narrated by Cedric and rudely interrupted by me, Melanie. We're the true crime podcast on the lines. Crack open le vin and let the mayhem commence.
This is episode 55, the first one of 2023, the Laurent Baca affair. Laurent Baca, 37 years old, disappears without trace on the 6th of August 2014. The search for his body eventually gives away what really happened and results in 2 trials.
Wow, so we're very recent then.
Yeah, it resolved not long ago, yes.
Right.
On the 11th of August 2014, Edith Scaravetti enters a police station in Toulouse. She wants to report that her husband, Laurent Baca, has been missing since the 6th of August. So we're talking 5 days earlier.
That's quite a while to wait.
Yes. According to her, on that day, they had a big fight. Laurent left the house with no explanation, without his wallet, without spare clothes, without car keys, and without his mobile phone. She has no idea where he could be, and by now she's starting to be a bit worried.
After the 5 days?
After the 5 days.
That's crazy.
Yes. The police opens a worrying disappearance case.
Yeah.
Straight away.
And can I say very cold?
Yes.
After 5 days?
Yeah, but at the same time, he's an adult. He can disappear if he wants to. There's no reason why he wouldn't be allowed to just go if he wants to. So...
You sound like a policeman saying stuff.
Yeah, but that's normal. As he's an adult, he does what he wants. So there's no reason to be worried just because he disappears. For his wife, it kind of is worrying because he suddenly went and she doesn't know where he is. But for the police, he can disappear if he wants to. I've
watched enough cases of disappeared. You totally sound like anybody can just get up and leave.
So they opened that case. Not really because of his disappearance and the fact that he's not there, but because they want to know if something happened to him.
Right.
They start looking into him, and they discover that he was dealing a bit in cannabis and cocaine for pocket money.
Right.
So they search hospitals and police stations because they thought 2 solutions. He's been injured or killed by another drug dealer, or he's been arrested for dealing.
Mm-hmm,
so most likely he's in one of those 2 things.
Yeah.
So they searched in the area and nothing. Right. No trace of him. Nobody reported him. It's not been recorded anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just he's nowhere. At the same time, if he had been injured, given that he has no wallet, no nothing with him, nobody would know who he is anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, they don't find him. They search and they don't find him.
Have we discussed what the French call John Does?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, I don't know. That's what I'm asking you.
I don't know what they're called. I don't even know if that exists. I know you have, when you press charges, you can press charges against X, which means you don't know who it is.
Uh-huh.
You can give birth against under X as well, which means you don't give your name. I'm guessing it would be X, but I don't know. I've never really wondered what John Doe's would be called in France. No idea. Might not be a thing here. You don't give names to people you find and you can't identify, I guess.
So you're not talking about Jean Chevreuil?
No. I certainly wouldn't think so, no. But I have no idea what they could be called. So they don't find him. But what they find is that there is no activity on his bank account either. And that they find very strange. Because a guy disappears 5 days, he has to sleep somewhere, eat somewhere, and there's no trace of activity on his bank account.
Right.
So they find that a bit strange, and they think something's going on.
Yeah, but hang on, if he's a dealer,
he would have lots of cash, possibly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. You're not going to be putting that in the bank and declaring it because the French tax man would want quite a big chunk of that.
Yes. So they're also a bit surprised at Edith's behavior. 6 days before she contacted the police is a bit long to wait, especially when
Yes.
your husband has disappeared.
Yeah.
She explains that Laurent was a bit depressed because his son from first marriage lives in Nîmes, and they live in Toulouse. So Nîmes is in the southeast and Toulouse in southwest. He lives with his mum, and Laurent misses him a lot. That's her explanation for him to disappear.
Well.
And when the police checks with family and friends, they learn that Laurent is very fond of his kid, and he's very close to his ex.
Right.
He apparently calls her every day, nearly.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's the son, I guess. And according to his family, Laurent loved his kids way too much to disappear. He would never do that to them.
Right.
So his family thinks something is really not right.
There's something scurrilous
Yes.
going on.
So during the investigation, the police become suspicious of Edith. So first they think it's weird that she took 5 to 6 days to report it.
Yeah, me too.
But also when they talk to her, she seems completely detached. She doesn't seem affected by the fact that he's disappeared. She just reported it and that's it. She's not worried. She doesn't act worried. She doesn't cry. It's just, okay, he's gone. Just, now.
So it's basically she's just filling out paperwork rather than actually wanting the police to
Yeah.
look.
Yeah,
she's
that's
kind
what
of
it
like
feels
saying,
like.
I have to do this just because you should.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So she doesn't really talk to the police. She isolates herself from everything and everybody.
Right. That doesn't look suspicious at all.
She doesn't take part in the search.
Yeah.
She never contacts the police to ask them how it's going, if they found something. She doesn't provide any information if they don't ask first.
She's pretty much doing everything to make herself look really guilty.
Well, it's like she's trying to show that she doesn't care,
Yeah.
which is very strange.
Yes.
So at some point, the police get so suspicious of her behavior that they open a new case for the disappearance. But this time is a criminal case centered on Edith.
Uh-huh.
So now they think, okay, she has to do something. She has to have something to do with it. It's now a criminal case.
Yeah.
So there's now 2 cases open. One is the disappearance. One is Edith is fishy,
Uh-huh.
essentially. But that gives them additional means to run the inquiry. So, for example, they can wiretap her, whereas before they couldn't. So they do that, and at some point, they become absolutely certain that Laurent's dead. It's been too long.
Yeah.
No news, no trace, no nothing. No contact with his son and ex-wife, which he's supposed to be close to.
Yeah.
They decided, okay, he's dead. Now we need to know how he died. Also, Edith gets even weirder in that time. So they keep an eye on her for 3.5 months. And apparently she doesn't call anyone on the phone. She doesn't get a single phone call. She shakes like a leaf every time they interview her. And the shutters of the house are always closed.
Right.
So she gets weirder when they keep her under surveillance. It's like she wants to disappear.
What time of year is it?
August.
Well, she probably keeps her shutters all the time because it's so hot.
Not 24 hours a day. You open them at night.
Well, that's very true.
So no, they find it very strange that the shutters are just closed all the time. To the police, it looks like she's being eaten by her conscience. So now they're thinking, okay, she's fishy, but she did it.
It's a telltale
They can't
heart.
prove it, but she did it.
She can't live with the guilt.
Exactly. That's what they think now.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's exactly how she behaves. And then they notice that she loses a lot of weight as well. She smokes cigarette after cigarette. So, okay, they try to get a bit more done. So on the 20th of November, 2014, they managed to convince a judge to allow them to search the house. Because she's way too fishy.
Yeah.
So they wanted to bring cadaver dogs, but none was available in that area on the day. But it didn't really matter, because the minute they enter the house, they can smell something is not right.
Oh no, not the horrible.
There's a bad smell in the house.
A horrible acrid smell.
Yes,
oh God.
Exactly. So they know, okay, we don't have dogs, but we don't need the dogs. something is dead in this house.
Right. Oh dear.
So they searched the garage, they searched the kitchen, they searched the garden. They even searched a field nearby, and they find nothing.
Well,
So
that's
they
weird.
can't figure out where the smell is coming from. They spot a well near the house.
Right.
So they thought, oh, that's where it is. So they get the fire brigade to go down the well
Ooh.
and check, and they go all the way down. They search and dig, and they can't find anything. He's not in the well.
I bet the Pompiers were drawing straws for that, for not going down there. God.
Going down the well, yeah. So they just still can't understand where the smell is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It smells like something died, but they can't find it. So during all that time, Edith is folding clothes on the sofa. It's like she doesn't even pay attention. They are searching the house around her. She just doesn't pay attention. And the cops are finding that very strange.
Yeah.
It's like, what is she doing? It's like, we're searching the house, we're searching the room where she is, and she just folds her clothes. So
It's not a folding out sofa, is it?
I don't know. I don't have any details on what sofa model it was. No,
Right,
I
okay.
don't know. But no, she was just folding the washing. That's all. That's all what she was doing when they were
Mm.
searching the house and everywhere around it. So they want to spray the room with what's called Blue Star, which is same as Luminol.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that Luminol?
So they kick everybody out of the room, the
Uh-huh.
living room. They close everything, switch the lights off to make it dark.
And then it looks like it's...
And they send her to the first floor,
Uh,
second floor for
it
Americans.
doesn't light up like the centre of the universe, does it?
No.
No?
So she goes upstairs in the bedroom
Right.
and she sits on the bed and she mentions to the cop that stayed with her that there's a .22 long rifle weapon on top of the wardrobe, which is weird because the cops never asked.
Yeah.
Apparently it was her grandfather's. And then she breaks down. She starts sobbing and she says that she's a monster.
Uh-oh.
She says that she found the .22 next to him. And the cops ask her where the body is then. Because if she found the gun next to him and she's crying, they understand he's dead. So where's the body? And she answers, above you.
Okay.
So the police goes into the attic,
Right.
which apparently is in shambles, but as most attics, ours is not exactly well.
Don't tell everybody our attic's a mess.
Anyway. And between two brick pillars, they discover a concrete and plaster sarcophagus
Right.
with a body in it.
Okay.
It's wrapped in plastic rubbish bags and it's liquefied. They
Yeah.
think it's Laurent. They found him.
So she didn't exsanguinate the body or anything?
No.
Or she didn't embalm it?
No.
No.
So it's 11:10 in the morning and the police opens a new case. This time it's for murder.
Well, bit of an assumption, but yes.
But there's a dead body in the attic in a concrete box.
Yeah.
Somebody killed that dude. It just didn't end up in there.
Well, she seems to be intimating that it was suicide.
Yes. That's what she implies.
Yeah.
During the inquiry for murder now, the police discovers from family and neighbors that the relationship between Laurent and Edith is a bit chaotic. They learn that Laurent doesn't work and has a problem with alcohol. His own mother says that he has a problem. And acquaintances say that once Laurent has had enough to drink, he turns into a new person. He's
Yeah.
violent, abusive, verbally and physically.
Yeah.
He's nasty. He's a nasty drunk.
Yeah.
And it got so bad that the Scaravity, Edith's family, no longer invites them over and doesn't visit anymore. They don't want to be around
Oh
him.
dear. Well, no, you wouldn't, would you? Poor woman, though. She must have been isolated.
Yes. Edith's brother explains that they couldn't get to the end of family meals when he was there. It was always turning.
It was that
in.
bad.
Yeah. So they just couldn't handle him. And it got so bad that Edith's kids half called her at work because they were scared of him.
Oh, no, that was just frightening.
So that's a sign that something is very, very wrong. When
I
the
feel
kids
bad
call.
for her.
Yeah.
Feel bad for her. He obviously had a problem.
Yes. And to make things worse, Laurent is very demanding.
A high maintenance husband.
Yes, but he doesn't do anything.
course not.
So Edith does the cooking, the gardening, the cleaning, takes the kids to school and to leisure activities. She collects them after work. She manages the homework. She does the shopping. And the house has to be immaculate. If it's not, he has a fit. The kids have to be perfect. One of Laurent's friends said that she was like the old-time wife that does everything. And she's exceptional, and Laurent certainly is very lucky to have her. And then there's more. Edith tends to be clumsy. She carelessly hit walls, apparently. She slips down the stairs. She doesn't manage to grab handrails when she goes down the stairs. She forgets to open doors before she leaves a room. Witnesses say that they didn't want to involve themselves in the couple's life. They had suspicions, obviously, but it's not easy to know exactly what happened.
No.
And it suits everybody better. Don't ask, don't know. And also when people ask Edith details, like, why do you have a bump here? She always says that everything's fine, nothing bad really happens.
Of course not, poor.
So all that came out during the police inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
Edith was born in May 1985. She is named after the famous singer that her mother loved, apparently.
Oh, right, I see.
Her parents had 2 boys, and her father was very happy with that. But her mum wanted a daughter. So much so that she was constantly depressed. And the family doctor had to intervene and explain to them that they have to have a daughter because she's just not going to survive without a daughter. She was obsessed with having a daughter. So, they had one.
Oh, that's just ridiculous.
Yes. So she's not exactly wanted, at least not by her dad. Apparently, in what she said to the police, at 12 on a camping trip, she didn't feel very well. And she went back to the campsite, leaving her parents at the beach. And there in the showers, a man attacked her and raped her. But she doesn't say anything to anyone. And she says that her family was so happy that she didn't want to ruin the trip for them. So she never said anybody. Soon after, her parents split up because they had the daughter, but the dad just wasn't happy about it. She goes and lives with her mother at her parents. And her mum finds a new boyfriend. And Edith finds herself on her own looking after her grandfather because her mum disappeared. But the grandfather has Alzheimer and is going downhill.
Oh my God, this woman has had a terrible life.
She didn't have the best of lives, no.
It's never the answer to murder anybody, but she's not had a great life.
No. She leaves school to look after her grandfather. He's also a little bit keen on the bottle. So he not only has Alzheimer, but he's a drunk. She has fewer and fewer friends, but she doesn't complain, apparently. She also spends alternating weeks at her dad's, but he's constantly depressed because he's split from his wife. She even helps her family, like her brother, when he splits up from his girlfriend and is depressed. She visits him as often as she can and tries to keep him happy and everything. So she looks after the whole family. Yeah,
you do get women like that, you know, they have nothing in their own lives but to make other people happy. And
yeah.
Wow.
At 17, her brother introduces her to Laurent Baca. She falls pregnant a few months later.
Oh, God.
So Laurent moves in with her and her grandfather.
Right.
One day, Laurent and Edith visit Edith's brother and his new girlfriend. And he says that they were sitting on the sofa when suddenly Laurent got up and grabbed Edith by the hair. He doesn't know what happened. It came, as far as he knew, out of nowhere. And on the day he was explaining that to the police, he still doesn't know what happened. Another time, after the birth of their first daughter, there was a party organized to show the baby to friends and family. And the baby girl goes round the room because everybody wants to see girls. Apparently, that's what women do. I don't understand that, but
certain
they all
women
want to see
do.
the baby.
Certainly not me. I'd be the one that would be ducking the room
yes.
at that point.
No, you can skip me. Yes.
Yeah.
And but suddenly Laurent kicks Edith's leg and orders her to go and get his daughter back. Apparently, that cooled down the party.
Well, yeah, that would kind of like take the air out of the room.
Yeah. Apparently, the only thing that calms down Laurent when he's doing one of those things is his parents. And sometimes they're cold because he's getting out of hand.
Right.
So what really happened? According to Edith, obviously, because his daddy can't talk.
Yes.
In January 2014, so we're talking 7 months or so before he was killed, Laurent, who took ownership of Edith's grandfather's .22 gun, fires a bullet into the bed where Edith lies. The bullet is actually found 11 months later by the police when they search the house.
Crap.
So that seems to be true. Edith panics and throws away the charger and the bullets in the trash and hides the gun on top of the wardrobe because she doesn't want him to find him again.
Sounds like a good idea.
A few months later, early August, after a week spent with her family at the beach, reality catches up with Edith. She gets stressed and panics a lot, and one day at the house of an elderly patient that she looks after, because she looks after patients that are old and out of hospital and all that, because that's what she does, she finds a tub of Valium. She takes it and swallows a few. She passes out.
Mm-hmm.
Laurent comes and collects her. Somebody calls him. The doctor that sees Edith makes her go through a bunch of tests to see if there's anything else going on. But nothing comes out of it. Later on, they collect the kids who spent the day at their grandparents because they went home. And they notice that Laurent is stressed because he spent the day at the hospital, so he's pissed off.
Okay.
We're now the 5th of August. Edith goes to bed. She's very tired after the day she had. At 3 a.m., Laurent erupts in the bedroom, drunk, of course. He grabs Edith by the ankle and drags her off the bed. No, like in the paranormal activity. He hits her when she's on the floor and insults her. And he also complains that it's not his job to be her taxi because he had to go to hospital to get her.
Yeah, what an ungrateful bitch.
Yeah. Edith doesn't react.
Right.
Laurent goes and gets a chair and reaches over the wardrobe to get the gun. He knew where it was. She didn't know that. He points it at Edith, who still doesn't react. And because she doesn't react, he leaves the room, go to the eldest daughter's room with the gun. And just before he opens the door, Edith grabs his arm and tells him that that's okay, that's enough. He elbows her. She falls down the stairs, which apparently he finds very, very funny. They have an argument on the ground floor of the house. He headbutts her and slaps her, and she falls headfirst on the corner of the fireplace. Then for some reason, probably because he's tired, he goes and lies down on the sofa. He puts the gun against his temple, and he taunts her to come and pull the trigger. He shouts at her to come and do it. Like, do it. Mm-hmm. For once, she could do something useful, he tells her. She doesn't really know what to do, but she thinks, okay, I've removed the bullets. There's no charger. He doesn't seem to have noticed. Nothing will happen. So she goes to the sofa. She grabs the gun and pulls the trigger. But she forgot one thing.
There was one in the chamber?
There was one in the chamber.
Uh-huh.
So he shot in her head.
It's a bit convenient, but okay.
That's her story. She panics and she goes to hide in the bathroom because that's the only room that has a lock.
Yeah.
She expects him to come and grab her.
Well, no, she wouldn't do. He wouldn't be able to, surely.
Well, she says she doesn't know he's dead at that point. But time goes by and she doesn't hear anything outside the bathroom. Nothing happens. And then it's daylight and he still hasn't moved. The next morning, Edith acts like nothing happened with the kids. Apparently, the eldest says to the police that she remembers kissing her dad on the sofa, not noticing he was dead. Edith denies that. She says it never happened. To avoid having the kids around, she takes the kids to a baker's for breakfast, and then she takes them to the activity center.
Right.
I didn't check what day of the week it was, but that might have been a Wednesday.
Oh, so they weren't at school?
Yes, the kids aren't at school.
Oh, it was August anyway, so they would be off.
Oh, yeah, they would be on holiday anyway. Yeah. So back in the house, alone, Edith goes and checks on Laurent. He hasn't moved. So she picks up the gun, ejects the bullet casing. She says she did it automatically without thinking because she doesn't remember doing it. And it was never found. She calls her dad twice, but strangely the police doesn't find any trace of that. And when I read that in the newspapers, I thought, she says she calls her dad and don't find any trace of it. Does she have a phone that the police doesn't know about? Because that would explain why she got no call in 3.5 months.
I was going to say that.
Even I have a call maybe not, I'm a bad example. But most people have a call at least every few weeks, every few months. Who doesn't have a single phone call in 3.5 months?
A spam text or...
Yeah, unless you have a phone that the police doesn't know about. So I was wondering if she had that, but nobody mentioned that in the newspaper, so I don't know if that's true or not. So anyway, she calls her dad twice. Not having an answer, she drags Laurent's body to the garage, wraps him in an orange blanket, and then drags him again to the garden. Then she digs a hole under the pergola, which is surprising to the police because it's in plain view of the neighbors. Why would you do that? In the middle of the day, dig a hole under your pergola and everybody can see it from their house. But that's what she does. Apparently she has a bunch of buckets, she fills them with soil, puts the body under the pergola in the hole, and fills the hole.
Right.
Later in the day, Laurent's mum calls him. She answers. And she explains that he went for a trip with a friend and forgot his mobile phone. Mum calls again on that day, and Edith says that he still hasn't come back. Laurent's parents find it a bit strange, and they start asking questions. And she explains that no, in fact, he might have left to go and see his son in Nîmes. The son is 14 and hasn't visited for a long time.
Right. But speaks to him every day?
Yeah, on the phone.
Okay.
Her explanations are also puzzling his parents, so that doesn't fly. So then she says that he went down to Spain in a go-fast.
Right, so we've got him going to the east of the country, now we've got him going south.
Yes.
Right.
So now he's going down to Spain for a drug run. And she says that he would come back in a couple of days. That seems to make sense to his parents, apparently, because they're satisfied with the answer.
They must be so proud of him.
Yeah. Because they know he's a drug dealer anyway, so everybody does.
Yeah.
So they talk to one of his friends, the police talks to one of his friends, who's also a drug dealer, and he says that there's no way he would have gone to Spain for a drug run. He doesn't have the resources and the organization to do that. That is not possible. He would never have done that. Also, he has very bad eyesight. He can't drive at night.
Right.
When you go and do a drug run to Spain, you drive at night.
Yeah.
Because nobody's around. So to him, that is absolutely impossible. He couldn't have gone, first because he couldn't have organized it, but also because he couldn't have driven that night. So, no, that's not true, according to his friend. And then things are not as they appear. 48 hours after Laurent disappeared, he's still not back. It's starting to look a bit strange. No one finds that stranger than his sister, Jennifer. Jennifer and Edith are fairly close. Jennifer says that they were like sisters from another mother. So they did everything together. They went shopping. They even went to New York once to do the shops in New York. Jennifer even injected Edith with a medication when she refused to see a doctor. So she got the prescription from the doctor and she did the injections.
Right.
So they are very close. 2 days after Laurent disappeared, Edith called Jennifer and asked her if she could come and sleep over in the house because she would feel reassured, given that Laurent's not there. Jennifer came to the house, and she later told the police that she doesn't understand. Edith is supposed to have been beaten up. Remember, she was headbutted, slapped, fell on the side of the fireplace and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But she never saw any trace of that.
Right.
She just doesn't understand how that's possible. According to her, she has no mark. Not a scratch.
Right, so her story's starting to sound a bit fishy.
There's inconsistency somewhere.
Yeah.
The police just doesn't know where. She also says that she wasn't aware of any violence between Edith and Laurent. So that contradicts her brother, who, remember, said that he grabbed her by the hair and kicked her and all that. And also she says that they were close enough to have talked about everything, and they talked about everything in their lives. And Edith never mentioned violence. So as far as Jennifer is concerned, there's no trace of violence. Edith never mentioned violence. There was no violence.
Right. But the brother had seen an instant.
Yes. And also friends and colleagues also mentioned that stuff was going on. They didn't know what because they didn't want to ask.
Yeah.
But they had doubts. But as far as Jennifer's concerned, no, there's just no trace of anything. But it's Jennifer that moved heaven and earth to find her brother. She's the one who went around all the hospitals herself. She went around all the police stations. She called all the police stations between Toulouse and Spain, even some in Spain. She knocks on the doors of all the neighborhood. She puts stuff on social networks, and she even ends up being interviewed on TV.
Right.
So she does more than the police to find her brother, but nothing comes out of it. And it was all on unpaid leave, obviously, because it kept her busy.
Yeah.
Laurent's mum doesn't understand. She suspects that maybe Edith and Laurent had a fight, and he fell down the stairs and she got rid of the body. That's what she thinks maybe happened.
Okay.
But Edith denies it, and she tells her mother-in-law that she's very disappointed that she thinks that she could have done that. The police also discovered that Edith had a short affair in June, 2 months earlier. She started getting close to a volunteer fireman that worked at the leisure center where the kids went.
Right.
And Laurent found out.
Uh-oh.
He was at first depressed and then tried to get a drug dealer friend to send a couple of goons to beat him up.
Okay. Send out a message.
But the guy somehow managed to defuse the situation and not do it.
Right.
So that never happened.
Okay.
Apparently, Edith ended the affair in August.
Right.
So we're talking days before he disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of August 2014, the neighbors note that the kids are not playing in the garden anymore, and there's a nasty smell coming from the bottom of the garden. One day, Edith notices that there's a bit of the orange blanket that sticks out from under the pergola.
Uh-oh. She didn't dig him deep enough.
She tells the police that she's worried he might come back, presumably as a zombie. So she digs him up, drags him back into the garage, attaches a rope to his ankles, and then drags him through the house.
Oh my God.
To her son's bedroom, because that's where the ladder goes to the attic.
Ew.
Up the ladder, into the attic. And then there she remembers a threat from Laurent where he said to her that he would wall her into the attic one day. So it gives her an idea. She learns how to make concrete.
Okay.
And sinks Laurent into a fresh concrete sarcophagus in the attic that she just built.
So she knows the right kind of sand and the right mixture.
She obviously looked it up. It's 2014. You find everything on the internet. So she
probably watched a YouTube video.
Yeah, probably. So she learned to do it, and that's where the police found the body. There was an autopsy done on his body, and the doctors discover that there are traces of burns on the skin and blood in the respiratory tract compatible with a shot in the head.
Right.
So that part seems to be true.
So he's got the burn pattern
yes.
from the gun.
Yeah. They can't tell if he was drunk on that day, because he's several weeks decomposed at that point. Because remember, that's November, and he died in August.
Yeah, so it's quite a...
So when they found his body, the newspapers report that he was liquefied.
Well, he
So
would be.
really,
I mean, you're talking the south of France. I mean, it's warm.
Yeah, in the summer and in the Attic. Yeah.
Particularly there, the temperature down about kind of like between Toulouse and Perpignan. It gets super hot.
Apparently, when they did the autopsy, he weighed 25 kilos.
Wow.
So a lot of it was missing. A lot of him was missing.
That's supermodel weight, that is.
Yeah, so there wasn't much blood they could analyze, so they don't know if he was drunk on that day. The analysis of the gun also confirms the type. It was a .22.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, as we mentioned in the previous episode, in the 70s and 80s, it was considered a toy. So you could buy one just like that. And because it was her grandfather's, he probably bought it in the 70s or 80s. So everybody had one.
Oh yes, I forgot. She was born in 85, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was born in 85.
She's got an old lady name, but...
Yes, but the fact that it was indeed a .22 means that it couldn't be an accident. Because the .22s are very stable. You can shake them, hit them, do anything you want to them. They
that
won't
trigger
discharge
has
on
to
their
really
own.
be pulled and mounted.
Yes, the only way to fire it is to pull the trigger. It's just no other way it could happen. So it's not an accident. Somebody pulled that trigger. But that's all the autopsy reveals. Mm-hmm. There's just nothing else to go on.
But it kind of proves that she didn't slash him, didn't stab him to death or anything. I
don't know if they could tell given what was left of him, but maybe yes. There is definitely burn marks on the temple. So given her story, they agree that
that bit's consistent.
Yeah, he was shot in the head. They just don't know who pulled the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, there might have been a lot of evidence kind of like missing if the story about the pergola and the moving him. Yeah, that body would have gone through a lot of trauma, being moved back up to the
but at that point he's dead, so you probably don't bruise anymore.
Well, that's true. Well, you do get kind of like post-mortem stuff happening to you, but it depends how
when
liquid
you're fresh,
he was at that point.
But remember, she digged him up a long time after he was buried under the pergola. So the autopsy is pretty much useless.
You wouldn't be able to pay me enough money in the world to be to work in that industry. I just couldn't. The whole thought of examining a body that was mostly liquid, no.
So it goes to trial in March 2018. The psychologist that visited Edith in prison said that she showed no regret, no emotion. She told them that after Laurent disappeared, life was much better. She could play and dance in the living room with the kids, which apparently she wasn't allowed to do before. And she also slept with the 3 kids on a rota in their bed. So things were good.
Do we know how old the kids are?
No. I don't remember. Fairly young. I don't remember what age they are.
Well, certainly young enough to need to go to some kind of activity.
Well, but you can do that until you leave your parents' house, really.
That's true. But they were certainly out of nappies and
anywhere
they were between toddler and...
they were between toddlers and teenagers.
And 15, 16.
Yeah, somewhere around there, most likely. The psychologists aren't too sure what was at play on that day. They suspect it could be a case of belle indifférence, which is apparently a psychological mechanism where the mind locks up the emotions to avoid having to think about painful memories. So they think that maybe it was that, and that's why she just shows no emotion whatsoever.
Yeah, she's shut down. Yeah.
Yeah. But in prison, she's happy because as far as she's concerned, she's free.
Yeah.
And she can create relationships with people again. So she doesn't feel alone. So she has a social life in prison and she starts studying for a diploma, which she couldn't do when she was looking after Laurent. And she makes drawings for the kids. Strangely, during the trial, Jennifer, Laurent's sister, testified that she never saw any marks, as we mentioned earlier. But that contradicts other stories about Edith. For example, she had a patient, an elderly patient, that says that she did see bruises on her body one day. And when she heard that Laurent had disappeared, her first thought was, that's it, she killed him. So she's testified of that in court.
There seems to be more evidence that she had bruises and bashes and stuff from more than one source, and we've only got one source
that says there was nothing. Yeah,
and she's the sister of the victim. So
you could think that she would have an interest in not making her brother look like evil.
Yes,
that's very possible. But at the same time, it's perjury. So
could also be that she just didn't see them, and
but it's kind of weird that she didn't see them. They would be obvious.
Edith was very careful just to picked up the vibes that, well, she obviously hasn't got a great view of her brother, and I'm not going to shatter that for her if she was felt that close.
Because Jennifer mentioned that when they went shopping, they changed their clothes in the changing rooms together. So she said she had a very good look of Edith's body and never saw a mark.
It's amazing what you can hide with makeup.
I guess so. Yeah, maybe. During the first 2 days of the trial, Edith was very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
She answers with very, very short sentences to confirm or deny whatever's been said. But that's it. On the third day, the president of the tribunal decides that she has to talk, so he makes it her day. She'll be able to say whatever she wants, and most people who are following the trial expect that it's going to be an early day because she's not going to say anything and it'll be back home for lunch.
Yeah, so she's monosyllabic and not animated at all.
But that's not what happens.
Okay.
She starts talking.
Uh-oh.
She explained how she wasn't wanted by her dad. We know that. She talks about the rape when she was 12, and the only person in the world who knew about it was Laurent. She talks about her parents' divorce, the way she found a way to drown her pain by looking after other people's pain. She uses that mechanism to not have to face her own life, she explains. She tells how she looked after her grandfather, and she talks about her early life with Eric and everything. She said with Laurent. She says that Laurent had been presented as a nice and generous guy by a lot of the people who testified during the trial, and she admits that he was. He also was presented as a violent monster, and she also admits that he was, at times. And she wants to highlight that he had a lot of suffering in his life. It wasn't his fault. But nobody mentioned that. So she explains that the first time that Laurent was violent with her was on the day her grandfather was taken to a home. When she got back home, she found Laurent drunk on the sofa with cannabis on the table. She didn't want him there at that point. So she told him to go. But suddenly he got up, took a knife he had with him, put it on her throat, and he told her that one woman left him, took his kid, and it wouldn't happen the second time. So Edith decided to stay, and she got pregnant again. And over time, the level of violence increased. Laurent could change completely from 1 minute to the next, especially when he had a drink. He could be nice, and then attack her, beat her up, and be nice again. But that was because of his suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to get better, according to her. So during the summer of 2014, she left Laurent for 3 weeks, probably during the affair.
Mm-hmm.
She went to her parents and took the kids with her.
With her, yeah.
But she made sure to make him understand that the problem was his drinking.
Yes.
And therefore, every day she was taking the kids to see him for a while. Because she said she didn't want to punish him. She just wanted to
make him
understand that she wanted him to stop drinking. And he stopped drinking, apparently.
Do you know, it's so... I don't know what the outcome is or anything, but this woman totally talks like a woman who's in a really violent and unstable relationship. Yes. And she's got the battered wife syndrome. You know, it really isn't his fault. You know, it's circumstances beyond his control that's made him like this.
Yes.
I mean, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah. So after he stopped drinking, things got better. And she says that he became the Laurent she knew when she was 17 again. And to prove her that he had changed, he decided to go and see her mom and show her that he was nice. But her mom's refused. She didn't want to see him.
No.
So when Edith got home on that day, she found him drunk again. Edith says that Laurent told her something on that day that triggered something in her. He said that he was aware that things wouldn't change and that he couldn't keep her with love, so he would keep her with fear. And we are now in August in 2014.
Right.
So at that point you can ask yourself, what's what? Was Edith a victim? Or
yes,
who knows? One day when she was in prison, awaiting trial, her lawyer came to see her.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked her how she was, and she said that Laurent came to her that night. Her lawyer commented and
asked her what she'd been smoking.
Yes. He commented that he was dead, he couldn't come.
Mm.
And obviously she had been scarred by that man. That was his comment.
Mm-hmm.
And there and then, she started to undo her shirt. And she showed him scars in the shape of a nail and a bee. Laurent Baca.
Okay, yeah.
On her chest. And she says she also has one on her ass. And he said, don't show me.
Yeah.
So the lawyer ran to the judge and got the doctors to check those scars. And during the trial, they showed photos of them. And the doctor that checked the scars describes them as impossible to date, probably done with a box cutter. And he said, well, to explain what these are, it depends what the question is. If you ask, what do you see? Then people don't see anything they recognize. If you ask people, what letters do you see? They tend to see an L and a B. So it's kind of inconclusive.
Right.
Could she have done it herself? He says it's possible.
I really wouldn't be surprised if she'd done it to herself. But still doesn't mean that she was married to a monster. That still doesn't have anything to do with anything for me. Why is that relevant?
Because that would be proof that he tortured her.
Mm.
Otherwise, we only have her word. We have people that say that he was violent with her, people that say that he wasn't. There's no proof, no photo. There's no proof of anything she said. So yeah, she had a good story that shows that she was a beaten wife and all that, but it's entirely her story.
Yeah, but that's
she had the scars.
That's a story with about
99.9%. Yes, but usually you want to have proof. You'd have photos and whatever.
Fair enough.
So if she had the scars, that would prove that yes,
right.
At least that part of the story is right.
It's true, right?
But the doctor says, I can't say that he did it. I can't say when they were made. It's inconclusive.
Right.
So it's not proof of anything. So at the end of the trial, she's not sentenced for murder or homicide. She's sentenced to 3 years in prison for accidental killing.
Right.
The jury, that could be a coincidence, but possibly not, was mostly composed of women. I think it was 9 women. That could be the reason. The prosecutor appealed because he wasn't happy about the sentence.
Because he was a giant asshat, right?
The second trial takes place in 2019. Once again, she's not found guilty of murder, but she gets a heavier sentence. She gets 10 years in prison.
Okay.
And that's it. She's in prison at the moment. It's a very confusing story. I still don't know if she's done it or not.
I don't care if
but
she's done it.
But that's all we know.
I really, honestly, I don't care if she's done it. Just having been in a house with domestic violence, it's awful. It's just truly awful. And all I have to say is that not all prisons have bars.